I suppose one of the things that struck me most about the Czech Republic was it challenged a lot of my preconceived notions. Growing up, we would go to the theater, and between features, they'd always show these black and white newsreels of the world, including the world behind the Iron Curtain. And my conception of the Czech Republic, or Czechoslovakia at the time, was that everything was kind of in black and white. And I can remember as we were touching down for the first time in 1994 that everything was in color, and that for some reason it just surprised me.
Bez tebe nemohl jsem žít, nebylo kudy kam jít. A tam, kde čekal jsem víc, nebylo nic. Všechno si na sebe vzal.
Well, we got an invitation to go to the Czech Republic. Now, we didn't even know where the Czech Republic was, other than it was one of those countries behind the Iron Curtain. So we had to get out a map and find it.
Bez tebe nemohl jsem žít.
So after spending 4 summers in the Czech Republic, we located to this nation in December of 1997. So we have been here now for over 15 years. During the Soviet occupation of this country, the government appropriated a great deal of the real estate and other holdings of the church. At the fall of communism in 1989, each of the churches that had been established before 1948 got each year an allotment of money from the government. Because of that, the government did not want to see new denominations spring up and be established in this country because it would muddy those waters. And so we're working interdenominationally by working with the indigenous churches that were already established in this country. And we are accomplishing evangelism, both through leadership development and community outreach. This is a nation of 10 million people. Of those 10 million people, we would count perhaps 30,000 who are born-again Christians right now. There are many, many nations in the Muslim culture, Hinduism, who have a higher percentage of Christians than this nation does.
Tak české duchovní podmínky jsou opravdu hodně.
I would have to say that the Czech spiritual situation is very difficult. Our fathers, the Moravian Church, had to leave the country for political reasons in the 17th century. All spiritual life left from this country. The country was under the rule of Catholicism, and then after the fall of the Habsburg monarchy, people didn't trust the church at all. After that came 2 world wars, and then, of course, the period of communism. Communism planted hatred against the church in people's hearts. Now, in the Soviet Union, many people came back to religion after the fall of communism, but in the Czech Republic, people rejected the church. They did not see it as a solution for their problems. Instead, the people turned to occultism, parapsychology, and paraphilosophies.
Podobný jako máme my, a v tom jim potom nabídnout ruku.
In the early 1990s, when we started coming here, there was a bit of a revival going on after the fall of the Iron Curtain.
After the communist collapse of the Iron Curtain, many missionaries, especially from the USA, were entering our country. They said that they came to help, but instead of helping the Czech church, they started to build their own groups. In fact, I have to say that in 1995, I and some other pastors were fed up with U.S. missionaries.
So after spending 4 summers in the Czech Republic, we located to this nation in December of 1997.
When Ken and Linda came in 1997, we had reservations about who they were and what they wanted to do.
Naprosto čistě pragmatičtí.
When we first moved here, we were charged to really just spend a great deal of time, actually the first year of being here, simply developing relationships. Among other things, we opened our spare bedroom to host people who were coming to Liebertz for training in terms of Christian leadership or even Bible school. So during that first year, we established a lot of relationships and friendships with the people who are now leaders in the church. Because of that, now we have a network that we work with perhaps as many as 24 churches all told.
We're on our way to Turnoff. It's 25 minutes from Liebertz, and we are visiting the church that's run by our very good friend Peter Bodny. Peter Bodny is the person that we've known the longest in the Czech Republic. Since he was 19 years old, we met him in 1994.
When Ken and Linda came first time to Czech, they were trained well to be the good and behave foreign missionaries in foreign culture. And one of the things they have to learn that Czechs don't always go according to the rules. So we had to first make them a little bit crazy. Linda she remained nice, but Ken picked it up, the crazy part, very soon, very quickly. The year 1994, they came and they wanted to follow the rules and everything. And very few weeks after they arrived to Czech, they had to drive illegal buses in the country with no insurance, no papers, no technical inspections. So that's the reason we were driving very old buses from, I don't know, 60s, 70s in the middle of the night. You know, we set up a special team of people. There was a person in the car going first, so there's no cops, you know, and then all the buses were rolling. And Ken had to be driving one of those buses. So that was his first lesson.
I remember when we first came, my big question to the Lord was, what happens when I have grandchildren? Because I wanted to be around for my grandchildren. So I said, okay, in 2 years, we'll talk about whether you want us to stay. Well, after 2 years, it was obvious that he wanted us to stay, and we wanted to stay because we love the Czech people, we love the Czech country. The only thing we missed was our family and friends. 3 years later, my son got married, and I go, okay, Lord, what are we gonna do? Well, guess what? My daughter borrowed a camera that had a new application. Didn't even know it existed. It took 10-second video. And she took 10-second video of Zeke's first cry and 10-second video of my son holding his son for the first time. And within 3 hours, I had that video on email. And 5 years ago, I said, what am I going to do? And it was like I was there. So God has a way of meeting your needs and knowing what's important to you and finding a way to do it.
Well, we're on our way to pay a visit to one of our favorite congregations. It's a primarily Roma or Gypsy congregation of perhaps 150 members. After about a year of being in the Czech Republic and establishing relationships with a variety of different pastors and church leaders, Linda and I were invited to come to a small community that's probably about 20 miles from our home to help the pastor reach and serve the Gypsy community, the Roma, who had begun to visit his church, and he really did not know how to serve or how to reach them.
We went up and we met some of the leaders of the Roma church, and Ken just went up to the kingpin and said, hey, I want to come to your house for dinner.
Vím, že Ken přišel ke mně s diářem.
Ken came to me with a calendar, and he said he wanted to visit me on Sunday for lunch.
Peppa, being like Ken, they're like blood brothers, just pulled out his calendar and says, okay, when you want to come.
Ale přišel jsem domů a řekl jsem to svým.
I was surprised by my wife's response. She said, "Are you crazy? You don't even know them."
Manželka řekla pak nakonec, říká, co jim uvaříme?
And she asked, "What will we cook?"
Kam tak něco se...
We can cook anything. They're normal people.
We showed up, and I thought for sure that sometime during that afternoon, his wife was going to fall to the ground with a heart attack. She was extremely nervous.
A nakonec se vím, že...
I remember that we made potatoes with fried cauliflower, and they liked it.
We just got along fine, and even though Ken could not speak Roma and Peppa could not speak English, they communicated through pantomime and just from day one, they were solid friends and could communicate.
We invited his children to come and spend the weekend with us. We took them to the zoo. We fed them their first hamburgers. We just really loved on that family.
Hodně Kena, mám říct jako, že...
One thing I want to say is that Ken is very close to me. I love him, and I consider him my spiritual father.
Byla a mám ho rád moc a...
He's also like my brother.
He's now, after 15 years, one of 3 pastors of the local Roma congregation. It serves as an elder and second pastor. His wife is very, very active in the children's ministry.
Nejlepší bylo to,
Ken and I have had a lot of fun together. A very funny time was when he bought a whole pig for a grill party. We killed the pig and gave it to my friend to prepare for the barbecue, but during the week, the meat from the pig spoiled. Now, we didn't realize it until we started grilling it. At first, I didn't smell it, but gradually we realized that the meat was completely bad. There were lots of people invited, and when they came to the place, they saw that there was no pig. They were all afraid that we had already eaten it. So we told them we had buried the pig instead. We told them that they had come to a funeral and not a barbecue. We laughed about this situation, but Ken went out and bought hot dogs and cooked them for everyone.
Vzpomíná, rád na to vzpomíná, že...
Besides working in this town, Peppa asked Ken to go to Slovakia and evangelize his hometown, which was Seoul, Slovakia, which is eastern Slovakia, almost to the Ukraine. Not only did we go the next year, but we were teaching in a Bible school, and Ken taught evangelism and cross-culture ministry, and we took the Bible students and we set up a battery-operated sound system and did an evangelistic outreach in their street, and a lot of people responded.
As a result of that, there have been 2 Romani congregations established in that area. And that's been really rewarding to Linda and I, to have the ability, through expressing Christ's love to these people, to be able to walk in now to gypsy communities all over the country and be accepted, because word travels as to who and who not can be trusted, who and who not is really in love and serving our culture. And there's not a gypsy community in this country that I don't think we'd be welcomed with open arms. And that's really quite unique for a white person. As a short-term missionary that's going for a few weeks, a month even, or half year, you always have in the back of the mind, I've got an escape clause, I'm going home.
The feeling I got is I have moved to Mars, because everything is different.
There is a point out there, maybe 9 months to 18 months, where you come to the realization that I'm not going home, I gotta fit here. And it becomes almost like you hit a wall. There were days when I didn't want to get out of bed, because life can be so very difficult. In the United States, you can go to the grocery store, you can buy 8-ounce pre-wrapped 8 ounces of lunch meat, and you know how many sandwiches you can get out of that with a loaf of bread.
All the shops were one-room stores at the time, and most of the time everything was behind the counter, and you were supposed to ask for what you wanted.
They sell meat by grams. I have no idea what a gram is. I have no idea how many grams it takes to make a sandwich. And even if I did, I don't know the numbering system. It's a half-day project just to get the materials to make a sandwich. Ultimately, you figure out, okay, if I buy 100 grams of meat, I can make 4 sandwiches. Well, how do you say 100 grams in the Czech language? There are actually 3 different ways to say 100. Finally, I got myself a deck of 3x5 cards and I wrote numbers out. So I would go to the store, I would point at a stick of meat, hold up a flashcard. She would reach around until she was touching the meat I wanted. I would give her the signal, show her the card, and then go, cut it for me, please. Now, for me, this is a fun story, but in the middle of it, it was a full-time, exhausting project, especially when you're in the front of a line of 30 people who are elbowing you and telling you to get out of line. I got things to do with my life. It's stressful, and that's one example of 1,000 things that it takes to get from sunup to sundown. And when you are there, it weighs heavily on you. And those days I don't even want to get up and have a sandwich. It's not worth it. You come to a point that if you don't know God has called you to this, it'll kill you. So I'm very thankful that I knew God said, this is your home.
We knew when we were coming in that we were going to help the Czech church pioneer churches, and which they have done. And we love helping them pioneer a church. We are now going to Hradec nad Nisou, a little town on the Czech-German border.
They were a helper in our first steps to be open church for people around us. It was not easy steps for us because time before it we make evangelism, for example, once and twice in a year, and just now we start to be with people every week, every day, and they help us with this, and they start teach English for mothers with small kids, and it was something very new in our community, in our town, and something very important, what help people to go to the church, because in our country it isn't easy for people to come to the church.
The mayor from Hradec has asked Simon to start a youth club there. And so Simon has taken some of his top youth and he's now training them to be youth leaders.
The half dozen teens that we're currently meeting with on a weekly basis all understand that they are there in that town to become future evangelists to the young people in the town.
He's also asked Ken and I to help him. So we go up every Wednesday from 5 to 7 and we have this club in Hradec with the Krostova youth.
Right now we do weekly devotionals. The devotionals are focused at training them to be directed and focused at reaching the teens in that community. So we're teaching them some things about outreach and about love and about serving and about all the things that are associated with reaching their generation.
We go outside and play. And then we have English conversation, and that's part of the draw of the club.
Right now we're on our way to the town of Nowe Miesto pod Smrkom, 30 odd kilometers north of our home city of Libris. For the last 3 years we've been conducting language conversation outreaches where we invite people from the community to come once a week into the church and practice speaking English.
Takže Ken a Linda byli výbornými nástroji, protože
While most people were not interested in Jesus, they wanted to learn English. So Ken and Linda began to offer English conversation classes in local churches to help build relationships between Christians and the community.
Linda and I have the opportunity to select the topics of conversation. And what we try to do is talk about life circumstances, life issues.
Is there something you feel so strongly about that you would be willing to suffer for it?
Wow,
It's a heavy question, yes.
it's very heavy. In last time in communism, very many people they suffered for their belief in Jesus. But I think that it isn't a question, easy question, because I don't know what will I do.
Okay.
But I would like to do it.
What your heart is saying.
Yeah.
The Christians who are working with us, partnering with us in these outreaches, know that they are there to develop relationships that extend outside of the conversation group setting. Over a period of time, that relationship begins to open up all areas of life, making yourselves available for prayer in times of difficulty or simply sharing the gospel as that opportunity arises.
I wasn't a believer when I first met them, and I became believer 1 year later, maybe 1.5 years.
She started attending our weekly English conversation groups right here in our home.
That's right.
And from that, she started coming to what we call congregation, which was a Sunday evening gathering where we shared a meal here and talk about Christian faith.
They cooked for us, sometimes we cooked in their kitchen, and then we talk about faith, Jesus, God, everything. And after some time, I accepted Jesus to my life.
It's been successful in all these different areas, in all these different churches. And we just have the joy of seeing it happen. And it really makes it worthwhile why we're here.
So this is another one of Linda and I's partnerships with local churches to build bridges into the community. After living here for 15 years, our network has broadened so widely that it seems that we're doing something new every day.
You know, it's fun. I just have to say, our ministry is fun.
Another outreach of the Stapletons is to tell their very interesting story about their lives as hippies.
And we've done that about 30 times over the course of our time here.
People who come to hear their story also hear a powerful testimony about how they met Christ. Another way they minister is by preparing Thanksgiving dinners and explaining the story of the first Thanksgiving in America. Linda is especially a wonderful narrator, and Ken is an amazing cook.
We'll cook a whole roasted turkey, and they will invite a group of people to come.
Czechs have never seen a whole turkey,
Right.
cooked or not cooked.
Ken bakes the turkey, and then it is served by a church to all the people and friends that they invite to a fancy celebration. Another ministry of the Stapletons are the English and summer camps. Linda is a fantastic teacher, and Ken often serves as a chef in the kitchen.
In this country, when less than 1% are born-again Christians, people haven't even met a born-again Christian, and now they get to live with them for 10 days, and many of them are attracted to Christ and have become believers.
And that really is a gateway for young people.
We really appreciate that they are practical, ready to work, skilled, and active. We are grateful for them.
A jsme za ně vděční.
There are times in our ministry where you think, is there something else I could be doing, should be doing with my time that I'm not? And it's just really having a long-lasting effect or value for the kingdom. There's been a pastor who we are now meeting with on a weekly basis, serving in his community. It may have been because of a language barrier, but for the first 10 years of our existence here in this country, there was really a distance between Linda and I and him and the community he was in. And we have recently begun working in his town, not because of his invitation, but because of the invitation of another pastor that serves there. But it has drawn us into relationship with him. And it hasn't been more than maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks ago. Just out of the blue, I was talking to him, and he said, it's going to take a while.
It's okay.
He said that he considered Linda and I a gift to the Czech Republic. And that's our reward.
Já jsem vděčný, že Ken a Linda mi narovnali obraz o amerických misionářích.
I'm grateful that Ken and Linda corrected my view of American missionaries. We are now friends, and I expect to have a lifelong friendship with them. Now, for them to stay here, of course, they need your support. They need your prayers. We, too, need for you to pray for them and to support them with greetings from home or with finances. It's up to you. I'm sure that they will be grateful for any support. Ken and Linda are doing a valuable work, and we are very satisfied with them.
I'm very grateful to have Ken and Linda in our church.
I would like to say thank you for service of Linda and Ken, because they are our friends, they are part of us.
They meet a lot of people and they show them values and things that God is giving to people, and it's very personal, and it's also with a great authority and love to each person they meet. So I think it's a great gift, and thank you for having them here.
Jsme rádi, že tady máme Kena a Lindu.
Please keep on supporting Ken and Linda. We are very glad to have them here.
Tam na té druhé straně, který jste prostě v té Americe, který podporujete Kena a Lindu.
For you who are on the other side in the USA, I want to say they're doing a really good job. What they're doing really is God's work. They're in the right place, and I think God has sent them here. I'm glad they're here in the Czech Republic, and I'm really grateful for their ministry.
To fakt dobrý, protože
They've ministered to me many times, and they've ministered to my wife and to my children.
So I'm thankful for you guys. If you are supporting Ken and Linda, I do want to let you know it means a lot, not only, I'm sure, to them, but it means a lot to other people you don't know, and maybe you will even never met. But it has a great value, it has a great influence, and just thank you.
Ale určitě budou vděční za každý.
A long time ago, our Moravian fathers sent missionaries to America. We have the feeling that we are now receiving back part of something that was given by our country to the United States. Thank you.
Státu přinesli.
So we just want to say thank you to all of you that have supported us over the years, and we just couldn't do it on our own. We need the Holy Spirit, and we need a team. So thank you for praying for us, for supporting us.
Bije a touží, žije a dýchá pro to, co se ti líbí, to, co ti na očích vidí. Bije a touží, a dýchá. Pro to, co se ti líbí, to, co ti na očích vidí. Běžím a toužím, pouštím se a nepadám.